Today's show is sponsored by Maccabee Apparel. Unique gifts with a biblical vibe. Dope t-shirts, athletic wear, artwork, and more. Proudly veteran owned as well. Original designs created by a team of veterans, historians, and religious scholars. Make sure to go to the website today, Maccabee Apparel. That's MACCABEE apparel.com. Also, you'll get 10% off at checkout through the month of May using the code BS3Radio. You heard me right, 10% off at checkout using the code BS3Radio. So make sure to check out the gear, visit the website. Thank you everybody for tuning in today to this special episode with my grandmother, my Grandmother Hall, and I'll be talking to her today and just recognizing her as Mother's Day is this week. But first off, just introduce yourself and let everybody know a little bit about you.
Well, this is Odessa Hall. I live in Hickory, North Carolina. This is where my home is. My home was here when I first moved here 4 years ago. I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Now I'm 86 and still living in the same area I was raised in.
Wow.
And it's good to be with you, Trey. I hope I have something worthwhile to tell you.
Oh, you will. You will. So, with Mother's Day coming up, like I said, I wanted to first just ask you, what age did you enter into motherhood, and what was that feeling like?
I was 15 years old. And it was overwhelming because I didn't know anything about taking care of a baby. But with my mother there with me, Mama, she helped me. And I made it through that situation.
Yep. And fast forward, you have 6 children, one including my mother. And she was the baby, but having 6 kids, just talk about that experience and what you went through having those kids, but also they were able to help each other out.
Yes, I did have 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls, and they always said I had a rainbow of children because they were different size and different complexions, but we made it through. One thing about my kids, they had a work habit of getting them whatever they wanted. They knew they had to work for it, and that's what we did. We worked together, and I remember on Friday evening, that was our time. We would go out to eat. Well, we'd go out and get it and bring it back. And we had snacks and we had music and everybody danced and had fun on Friday. That was our break from being through a hard week, a week of working. And it was always fun. I really grew up with my kids because wow. I was young when I had started being a mother. But through hard work and my children, my mom and daddy lived across the street from us. And they were being helped. But it was hard, but now it don't seem like it was that hard because we've made it through. All my kids graduated from school. They're in different professions, and everybody turned out good. Like Trey said, his mother, my youngest, she worked for the Port of Oakland. I have a son that's an attorney in Oakland. But my oldest son, he was 45 years on his job.
Yes.
And my son, I have one that's deceased, my middle son. But he was a registered welder. And that was his job doing his whole lifetime till he retired. So and my second oldest daughter, she's retired now, but she worked in the food industry. She worked at a school for years, and she worked in a furniture factory for years till she went into the food school system. But I'm proud of all my children because they, with me, we've made it through. We bought a home. I learned to drive I was middle-aged when I learned to drive.
Oh wow!
Huh?
No, I said wow. I didn't know that. So you didn't learn to drive till you were in your 30s.
That's right. I was in my 30s because the job I had at GE, we worked long hours. There was a time when the hurricanes came through. That was our time to work hours because we had to furnish transformers for those disaster areas. And I would have to go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes my ride would come for me, and sometimes they didn't. And I had to go wake up my daddy to take me to work at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I said, well, I'm going to learn to drive and get me a car. And that's what I did. But my kids were scared to ride with me because they didn't think I could drive good enough. But
they got used to it.
I made it to work, in fact. That was my main reason for getting a car, learning to drive and get a car. I could have my own transportation going back and forth to work that early in the morning. And I just have to wake up my daddy. He didn't mind taking me, but I knew that was hard on him because he had to be at work. And I guess he would go back home and take him another nap and then get up and go on his job. But I learned to drive. First time I went for my license, I got my license. But the next time I went, I couldn't get my license. I had to go back about 3 times before I got my license again.
Wow.
So I guess that first time I was really determined to get it. But the next time it just seemed like it was foreign to me. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't think. But I finally got them.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's a amazing story there that I did not know. And so, for those that are listening, my mother, which is Alicia Irene Sutterth, that was Killian, that's my mother. And then also I have my uncles, my Uncle Roger, rest in peace to him, he passed away. My Uncle Junebug, my Uncle Clinton, you guys have seen the interview I've done with him. Also my Aunt Sylvia and my Aunt Joe. I'll have to get my Aunt Joe on the show one day because she will have everybody laughing. So
that's the truth.
that's in the future plans. So as you were coming up into motherhood, What were some of the things that you enjoyed the most as throughout their years growing up?
Well, we didn't have things to play with like they do now. We didn't have. I was almost grown before we got a telephone or a TV. So we made our toys that we played with, but we had fun. My daddy made us a swing in our backyard. We had the swing to play in. And it was simple things, but when I got older, my job was to help my mama in the house. And I'd take care of my brothers. I had to learn to cook, keep house. That's one thing she stressed for her girls. Well, she taught her boys the same way to cook. But she said one day we get married, we had to learn how to keep house, how to cook. Because back then, the boys might have grown up to go to college, but the girls was expected to get married, be a mother, and a housewife. So that was my job, being the oldest of six kids. I learned to cook. I learned to keep house. I learned to take care of babies. Whenever my brothers were born, I had to take care of them and cook while my mama was recuperating. Right. So it was a years of growing up and maturing to be a wife and a housewife.
Right. Now, you brought up something, and I have my Grandma Hall on the show today. We recognize her for Mother's Day. You brought up cooking, which is something that you are excellent at. I've had plenty of your meals and food that I've enjoyed. Now, is that something that you always had a passion in, or did you see it as work?
Well, at first I saw it as work, but as I got older, I learned to enjoy cooking, mainly because my mama took time to learn me how to cook that everybody would appreciate it. Take my time and cook it right. So that was how I learned to cook. She taught me to fix a meal that everybody would enjoy. After I got grown, I think I have fed half a hickory. When I moved to California for a while, I fed everybody that knew me in California. And it was a passion for me to cook big meals on Sunday. I could feed 25 or 30 people on Sunday. And everybody enjoyed it, and I don't care how many came. Everybody ate good. The Lord made sure that I didn't run out of food because I wouldn't be expecting that many. But my granddaughter, she would bring half the people with her to eat on Sunday because she said, I know my granny got something to eat. Y'all get full. And people would come, and I would look up, and here she come with 10 or 15 people, even here at Hickory and in California. But I just enjoyed it. I cooked when we had meals at the church. Everybody had to bring food. And it was just a joy for me to see people eat and enjoy it and not waste food. I couldn't stand that.
Yep, I do remember that. And let me tell this story. Me and my cousins, so myself, my cousins Tracy and Shane, we went to North Carolina for a month. And we first got there, and we were eating. We were hungry, and so my grandmother made some spam sandwiches, which I didn't know they could taste that good. But that was probably one of the best sandwiches I've had ever. And I always tell that story because that just shows that you're able to cook anything and it tastes good. And that's just the skill.
Well, my grandson had a friend, and he would come and he would say, "Granny, you got something to eat?" I said, "Well, look in the refrigerator, some leftovers in there." And he would fix him something to eat every time he would come. And he has a little boy, he'd fix him something to eat. And it was just, I always had something to eat if somebody came and wanted something to eat. Because I always cooked enough that it was some left over. And I would save it because I knew the next day somebody would come wanting something to eat. So I always had something for them. And I know when we lived in California, one of Sheila's, my granddaughter, she had friends, and he had sung at a funeral that day, and he walked down to our house, and he said, everybody called me Granny. And so he said, "Granny, you got something to eat?" And my soap was on, so I told him, I said, "Well, you go in the kitchen, whatever you find, eat it." He ate and cleaned my kitchen so good. I'm telling you, even my refrigerator, he cleaned everything in that kitchen.
That was appreciation.
Well, I tell you, if you love to cook, it's a joy to you to see people eat and enjoy what you cook and get full. That was my enjoyment.
Right. So what was, or what is, or was, your favorite thing to cook, or kind of your go-to meal that you could do, memorized?
Well, my favorite was greens, turnip mustard greens, and black-eyed peas, and candy yams. And I would have onions for my black-eyed peas. I would soak them in baking soda and wash that baking soda water off of them, put vinegar over them with pepper to eat with my peas. And that was, I'd have a meat, maybe some kind of meat, didn't make no difference, and cornbread. That was a meal to me. Sometimes I could eat a meal without any meat, just vegetables and bread, but that was what I would cook.
Wow.
And I always make a cake, sweet potato pies, or some kind of cake.
Right. I was going to say that. I know there was some cake, or some orange supreme cake. That's one of my favorite. Or or a pound cake. That's something I'll always remember anytime, because I live in Texas right now. I lived in California, and you guys were in North Carolina the majority of the time. But anytime we came by, we always knew that there was going to be food. So that's one thing I always remember. Now, so cooking, that's something you have a passion in. What were some of the other things that you've had a passion in? I know you did bowling. That was.
Oh yeah.
Is that so? What are some other things?
I used to bowl and reading. When I lived out there in California with Clinton, he has a big collection of books, and I had loved to read before that, but when I went out there and stayed, I didn't bring any of my books, but Clinton had books, so I would be reading whatever. I didn't care what kind of book it was. I'd love to read. Right now, I got a whole big box full of books I've read. I got magazines. My brother gave me 2 subscriptions to magazines, and I got boxes of them. I won't throw away nothing. I'm a pack rat. I just keep everything. And right now I'm reading Cicely Tyson's autobiography.
Awesome.
So I love to read. I don't bowl anymore because I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I couldn't bowl anymore, which I love that. And we would go to tournaments all over North and South Carolina bowling. Me and the team I bowled on, that was friends of mine, we formed us a team, and we bowled league bowling here in Hickory for years, and travel anywhere a tournament was. We'd go spend the weekends bowling. But those are 1-2 things that I really enjoyed doing. So I still love to read because I don't know, sometimes if I'm reading a sad book, I'm sad, but I try to read books that inspire me or make me feel good reading it.
Right. And also that helps to keep you sharp, and that helps to keep your brain, activity up when you're reading and learning new things too. Some things that you maybe didn't know.
Well, that's what Clinton told me, that it's good for me to read because it keeps my mind active,
Right.
So I guess that's true.
Right.
Because it really has helped make my brain more active than if I didn't read, just sit here doing nothing,
Right. That's true. Now, as we're talking to my grandmother, Grandma Hall, what does motherhood mean to you? So being a mother for this amount of time, what does it mean to you?
It means having children, seeing them grow, taking care of them, and teaching them that they will have to someday be grown and make a life for themselves. I remember my daddy telling me when I was young, and I passed it on to all my children. My daddy told me, he said, and my mama did too, I don't care what job you're doing, when you finish it, don't walk off from it. Look back at your job. Make sure you did it the best you could, and it looks like everybody will appreciate it. And that's what I taught my children. Don't half do a job and just walk off from it, and don't look back and see that you've done everything that you could to make it presentable.
Right.
Even with cooking, it's the same way. I don't like microwave meals. If you don't cook, you can't cook a full meal in 15 minutes. I won't eat it because you didn't take time,
right,
to cook it right, So those are the things that I really taught my children, to respect older people. Because my mama was the same way with her children. Don't fast people have a smart mouth around older people. Respect them and listen to them because they can give you some good advice. You probably live long enough to realize what they told you. You can use it in your grown-up years.
Right, that's true. That's very true, and that's something my mom taught me as well, to not do anything halfway. Do it right the first time. So I know where she got that from.
Right. Well, I got it from my mom and daddy.
So
So
that's something.
it is. I mean, and it makes a parent proud to see their grown children having a home, working, and taking care of it. If they have kids, taking care of them, and making a good living for their family. It makes a parent feel like she did a good job.
Right. That's true. And then you can see the progress. You can see, like we talked about at the beginning, all the lives that they're living, and that you have kids in different professions and successful and living their lives. So I commend you, because that was what you've done, and how many people you've inspired, your kids and other people's kids too. So I wanted to just say thank you for that.
Well, that's what being a parent, a grandparent for is, to instill in your children and your children's friends, because my house, they full of their friends most of the time. And I would make sure I didn't care how many came, but I didn't want no hollering and crap, arguing and going on in my house. Everybody lived there, had a good time, everything was peaceful. And that's what makes parents feel good, to know that the children are grown, mature, and take care of the family.
Right. That's true. That's very true. So what would you say to a soon-to-be mother? What encouragement, or what would you leave them with as they get ready to go into motherhood?
I would tell them, if they had a baby, take care of that baby, because they didn't ask to be in this world, and they are defenseless. So a good mother would take care of her child. I mean, nourish it, keep it clean, feed it good, and help that child to grow. You can't overdo with a baby, because they are helpless.
Right.
All you do for them, it benefits them. And they know. I don't care what anybody says, a baby will know when it's well taken care of.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, you have been a joy to interview. I've interviewed my mom a couple of times, but I haven't interviewed my grandmother. So I just wanted to do this to really put a spotlight on you, just allow you to talk and to ask you a couple of questions. So I've truly enjoyed it, and I think people will definitely get some knowledge and some nuggets from this. So thank you for wanting to come on the show.
Well, thank you for asking me. I've enjoyed it. And since your mother, my baby girl, taught me how to use and bought me my first iPad and learned me how to use it, I still don't know too much even now. But I've enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting this, but it's been a joy talking to you and talking about my life and growing up. I just hope you and whoever listens to it will get a benefit out of this.
I agree.
Because I just hope that they will, because they need to get all the help growing up in times like these that they can get.
Right.